We are back. Welcome to Hack Chat Live Road Show FOMO edition, Black Hat FOMO edition. And man, I'm excited for this guest because let me just tell you, today I have Chris Cochran, my brother. His meteoric rise the last 2 years is very impressive, and I want to dig into that. He's a security thought leader. He is a host of a top security podcast, and you will walk away with a lot of value and a lot of nuggets. Chris, welcome to Hack Chat Live. Please introduce yourself.
Be back. How's it going, everybody? By day, I'm director of security engineering, and by night, I'm one half of the hosting party of the Hacker Valley Studio podcast. Glad to be here as always, Marco.
Yes, I am super excited. You know, over the last 2 days, I've been doing these live streams. I have the chat window up. Submit your questions. I'll be reading them the way I've been doing for the last 7 interviews. And look, let's get right into it, man. Because one of the themes, besides the community we talked about, was how to promote your brand, right? How to be involved and get involved. And this is what I hit you up yesterday or the day before yesterday about. I said, look, I'm getting these questions, and who better else to bring on than you? You know, I mentioned you yesterday in one of the interviews that one of your posts went viral. Can you go? Let's tackle something else. How did you get into cybersecurity in the first place?
Yeah, I got into cybersecurity. I had an interest in computers when I was young. I used to take apart computers, put them back together. And 1 year I went to a high school that had a program. I missed the cutoff for the program, but a lot of my friends were in it. And so they were telling me about, how to do certain things. And they said, one thing you should do is go get a book. So I went and got an A+ certification book, read it like a novel. It got me more interested in technology, but I really didn't get into cybersecurity and all the things that I do today until I got into the United States Marine Corps. I was at the National Security Agency doing some pretty cool things there, and eventually got into deep threat intelligence. And that was my background for about 12 years or so until I became a director of security engineering.
All right, let's go right into it. Let's talk about the post that went viral, please, sir.
Yeah, let's do it.
You were hired at Netflix at the time, and you posted, I'll lead you, and then you could take over. And you posted a picture of you in front of the Netflix sign, and overnight it went crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, so even take it just a step back before that, I had changed my role, and I was waiting for all these like congratulatory messages, high fives, the heart emojis, all that stuff. It was crickets. I didn't hear a single word. And I was like, what the heck? I thought people would be pretty excited for me to get this coveted job. And I realized I had to configure on that if I change my job role, don't notify anybody. I was like, oh, what a missed opportunity. That would have been great to see. And so I was like, I'll just put out a post. My wife had taken a picture of me by the Netflix sign, just me pointing like this kind of nonchalant. And I said something in the post to the effect of like, hey, just started my job here at Netflix. If this jarhead Marine can do it, anybody can. And I tell you what, I thought it was broken. Like it was like an hour later, it was at like 5,000 views. I was like, whoa, that's the most I've ever gotten in my entire life. That's pretty crazy. Then even further later, it was like 10,000. I'm like, this is ridiculous. When I woke up in the morning, it was like a few 100,000 views. And I was like, this is beyond incredible. And it just kept going and going up into about 1 million or so views of that single post. And what's crazy, it was right at the time that RSA was going. And so I went up to RSA almost like a little mini like celebrity. People were like, oh, I know you, you're the Netflix guy, you're the Netflix guy. And even you and I, we went to a hacker meetup and people recognized me there. It was like the most guy.
You're the guy. Yeah,
it was the most surreal experience of my life. I mean, I was brand new to Netflix, brand new to Silicon Valley, but what a way to kind of come into the community.
And how did that change your life? Like, because now it was like, I feel like everyone that was on LinkedIn that was in cybersecurity seen it. Like you were that post was trending under cybersecurity.
Right. Yeah. So it completely changed everything. I would say that post, ridiculous or not, really changed my entire trajectory for my career, for my life. I'm in Texas. I have the job that I have now. I have opportunities that are coming up. They're all because I took that post and tried to use the momentum of it to do good things. I knew that I had people's ears, I had eyeballs on me at this point. So I thought, what can I do with this momentum to do something? It was like my catch me outside moment, right? Like, do I go to the dark side or do I go to the light side and try to do something positive? And at the time, I was staying with you guys at the Hacker Valley house, and Ron and you had that set up for educational videos, for technical videos. And then we decided just to hop on the mics and have a conversation. And it was terrible. Like, we had two cameras on us and we were pushing stuff to YouTube. And eventually we realized, hey, this is like a podcast. So we converted it to a podcast. The name used to be SecDevOps.ai. We ended up turning it into Hacker Valley Studio, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and actually, you were nominated for a Webby this year.
Yes, that's incredible. Like, I wasn't sure how I was going to react if I ever got nominated for any of those awards, but it was super humbling. It was incredible just to be in the company of those big companies, TechCrunch, Wired, like competing with folks like that. And it's just two guys with home studios.
It was David and Goliath right there.
We didn't win, but I tell you what, it was one of the most memorable experiences of my life for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that goes to show you, just like posting, and you wasn't trying to go viral, right? You was just
right, no, not at all.
You're shining light. Like, if I could do it, anyone could do it. How do you take that and begin branding yourself, because you have all of these new followers now? So,
yep.
You have to look at, and this is what I always tell people, besides showing up to conferences and doing stuff, is how do you get yourself and put yourself in a position to shine that light on you and build your own brand. And I've seen that with you in the last 2.5 years. And this is why I said this meteoric rise. Now you're here, right? Now you're in these different communities, making some changes.
Yeah, I would say there's two sides to the coin, right? There's the side of vulnerability for the content creator. A lot of people, they try to fake the funk. That doesn't work. If you go too far and be too vulnerable, it doesn't connect. If you're like overly vulnerable with no value, it doesn't connect. And then on the other side of the people, you have to give them something that they have of that value. So you have to find that middle piece. And it took some time. I was putting out different types of videos that came from the heart. Some, registered with people, some didn't. So really finding that alignment in what my message was going to be. What is it that I can help people realize about themselves, about their careers, about cybersecurity? And also, what do the people want? What do people want to hear about? And so really that first year was really a test bed for what is the type of content that people want. We got really lucky with Hacker Valley Studio because we put out the information that we wanted to put out. On the front of it, it doesn't make any sense. Wait, are they talking about cybersecurity? Or are they talking about personal growth and development? And we married the two together. And slowly but surely, it built this almost like cult following where people are like, I absolutely love it. This is exactly what is needed in cybersecurity. But a lot of people didn't get it. I'm sure there's still people out there right now that don't get it. But again, you're not making something for everybody. There's always going to be that audience that's going to listen to what you have to say. As long as you put the work in, you're authentic, and you give people value, you're gonna find people that are gonna want to listen to your content.
And this is what I always say. It's all about sharing your experience. I do my podcast, and I don't look at it as, oh, I'm competing. No, I want you to get your shine, because guess what? They have a Slack channel. Everyone should join. You could type it in. Make sure you join. But you also do this mastermind every month for people that register as a Patreon, right? And this meeting every month is like-minded individuals trying to elevate their game, and that's what everyone needs, right? Especially
Mm-hmm.
during COVID, right? Because you're so isolated, you're in your own little box. I just came off the live stream with Jason Haddix, and he was stating, he was like, hey, it's been really difficult. The motivation isn't there because he doesn't get that buzz from those conferences, and I feel the same way. But
Right.
this what you're doing with your masterminds, it's like that. I walk away with energy. It's like speaking to a mirror of individuals, and kudos to you, and what you guys are really building there is something amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. We started that mastermind a little over a year ago, and we still have that tight cadre of folks. A lot of times you bring people together and they're there for a couple meetings. These people have been here for over like 13 meetings,
Yeah.
which is mind-boggling to me. And what's great is that I get from the meetings just as much as everybody else gets.
Mm-hmm.
It's just bringing all those people together to be like a mind trust, like thinking about the problems and the things you're trying to solve. There's so much balance that happens, right, between advice that I get from you and then advice that I get from Alexis. It almost like melds together to create this like perfect yin and yang of balance, because you have that go get 'em attitude, right? Like you never stop, you never sleep, almost like that Conor McGregor style of appetite. But then you have Alexis, who's very like calm, and you need to rest and recharge, and you need both of those sides. You need both of those sides to go to that next level. If you're constantly pushing into the red, you're going to either burn out or you're going to get tired of it and you're going to just give up. But if you can hang back, sit in the pocket, like boxers always say, like being able to sit in a pocket is being in danger, but resting, collecting yourself, gathering information. If you can go back and forth, you will rise like that meteoric rise, like Marco you're talking about. You'll just continue to go up, and I think that's what that meeting really means to me.
It's one step at a time. Let me switch
Mm-hmm.
gears now. You've been a threat intel guy for years, right?
Yep.
You love threat intel. What can a company do that maybe doesn't have that threat intel, block? They haven't created it yet, right? Because they
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen the need. And a lot of times, if you're not in security, if you're not a security company, or you're not big enough to have a security arm within the organization, security is a cost. How do you help a company, or what would you suggest for a company to start building out a threat intelligence program?
I guarantee you right now, every company out there that has a cybersecurity team has a threat intelligence person on that team. Do you ever know the person that's like, hey, this just came out this morning, just read this on Twitter, this just came out from Bleeping Computer, this just came out from the Cyberwire? Somebody on your team is always looking at the news because they're very, very hungry about information about threats, very hungry about information about vulnerabilities, and that is going to be your part-time threat intelligence person.
Mm.
They're the one that has the most context when it comes from the external. So all you need to do is repackage that and apply that context to what's going on internal to your network, and you got yourself a part-time threat intel person.
When you worked at your previous company, you created an interview sheet for other business units to
Mm-hmm.
provide them threat intelligence, and I thought that was so key, and I wanted to bring that up because that is a way on how you spread that love of threat intelligence and help other business units. Can you take me through that, and what was your thought process?
Yeah, so I created a framework for threat intelligence practitioners. Like a lot of times, what was hard was making an impact with threat intelligence. And so this is like a super easy, hence the name, framework that someone could use to make an impact. So it's an acronym. E is elicit requirements. Elicit requirements, the first thing you do is you have to talk to the stakeholders. If you come in and you just start throwing information everywhere with no direction, no rhyme or reason, it's not going to work. What you want to do is you want to talk to the people that need that information. What are the questions that they have? What is the information that's going to help them make a decision or take an action to improve their security posture? So that's the first thing. Elicit requirements. A, assess collection plan. What is the information you need to do? Are we going to look at Twitter? Are we going to talk to this researcher? Are we going to buy a threat feed? figuring out how you get the information you need. Maybe there's internal information that you need. What is the information that you need to answer those requirements? S, super important, which is strive for impact. How do you take that information that you have collected and then give it to the people that need to make the decisions or take the actions that you have the information on? And what can they do with it? Are they going to stop something? Are they going to make a decision? Make sure it's something that they can do with that information. And then the final thing is why yield the feedback, because sometimes we get caught up in that go, go, go mode. Get that feedback. Is the information I'm giving to you of value? Was this impactful? Is there anything I need to change about the medium? Is there anything I need to change about the length? Is there anything I need to change about the rhythm or the cadence of which the information I'm giving to you? So all those things will help you in making that impact in threat intelligence. And that sheet that you're talking about is just that simple interview sheet, the illicit requirements. Who are you? What information do you need? What is your mission? What are the technologies you deal with? Having all that information will make you a better intelligence analyst because you know what information they need.
Yeah, you're on the CISO track. I mean, you're a security director right now. What are some of the most important things that you face in your position?
I would say the things that we face is just there's so much to be done. It seems like every year cybersecurity gets a little bit more complex. There are additional vulnerabilities, there are different technologies, there are transformations, there's all types of things that are always constantly changing. So the hard thing is keeping a handle on what your environment looks like. Also making sure you have the right people with the right skills or the right people with the right potential in order to get the job done that needs to be done to protect the organization, and just trying to stay up on the latest stuff. I mean, all of that is a full-time job, but we have to do it all. So you have to lean on your teammates because one person can't do it all. I mean, there might be a one-person cybersecurity shop somewhere and they're doing it all right now, but it'd be great to have a team of folks that you can lean on to get some of that stuff off your plate.
You know, one of the skills that you have and I respect the most is your technical writing. And as you know, you and I, we write a lot because doing threat intelligence is important. What would you recommend for people that are getting into threat intelligence and their writing skills aren't at that specific level where they need to be technically as well as, soft, so then stakeholders understand what they need to do?
Yeah, I would say two things: read and write. When you read something and you like how they put something, maybe it was just so elegant the way they explained what ransomware is, or it was elegant the way they talked about a particular attack vector, like take note of it, mimic it a little bit, but also write, getting that practice down. This is one of my favorite exercises, and Marco, is take something, and this takes time, but trust me, it's worth it. Take something and write like a 1,000 word report based on some attack that you've heard about. Maybe it's an emerging threat. Maybe it's even an attack that happened a long time ago. Maybe you write 1,000 words on the Bangladesh cyber heist or something like that. Now take that and try to write it in 500 words. Now you got to be a little bit more choosy about what words you use. Now take it and write it in 250 words. Now you're getting tough. But if you can get it to the point where you can write it down in 100 words, now you might lose a lot of the context that you had in 1,000 words. But if you can get it to the point where you can still convey that story in 100 words, now you understand like how important each word can really be. And you'll transfer that over to the 1,000 words. So now you can take that skill set of boiling it down to 100 words. And now when you write 1,000 words, everything on there matters. So that's one of the things you can do as a writer.
Oh, that right there, you're walking away with a lot of nuggets, man. How has cybersecurity changed over the years since you've entered the cyber domain?
Oh my gosh, it's insane. I feel like when we came in, it was kind of like very like onesie twosie, very very straightforward. Okay, this computer is connected to that server, that printer, done data. That's it. Maybe if we get fancy, we got a firewall. Ooh, that's pretty nice. But now it's everywhere. There are so many connected devices. Being in the cloud is a completely different beast. There's some pros and definitely some cons, especially for folks that aren't used to operating in the cloud. But it is just night and day how fast and how incredible that technology as a whole has grown. and also cybersecurity.
Yeah, I mean, when I came in, hacking was like, it was way different now.
Right.
It's more like APT, nation states,
Mm-hmm.
ransomware. There's so many different avenues, vulnerabilities that come out that syndicates use to steal money. It's amazing, and this is one of the things that I always say. Over the course of the last 2 days, people are like trying to enter cybersecurity. I'm like, look, the cybersecurity domain is so wide, right? You could
Mm-hmm.
be in marketing with cybersecurity. You don't need technical skills for that, or in risk, or a reverse engineer. It all depends. It's what lane do you
Mm-hmm.
want to pick in, because you could fit into this arena if you want to. What
100%.
Yeah, what is one of the skills you would recommend for someone entering cybersecurity?
Mental agility every
Mm,
single time. Like work on your mental agility because couple things. When you get into cybersecurity, you might not necessarily be doing something that you want to do, and you might want to pivot over to something else. Maybe you came in as an architect, or maybe not an architect, but maybe you came in as a SOC analyst, but really you want to do bug bounty. So having that mental agility to be able to switch and see the other things that are going on is going to be important. But then also don't be tied to certain technologies, because technologies die off every single day. And then there's something new that everybody has to kind of learn and get used to. So really focus on being able to pivot, really stick to the essentials, the fundamentals of what cybersecurity is all about. The triad that's one of the first things you learn: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. But those are the things that are going to help keep you agile, because it's a touchstone. You can go back to it. Even if you go to AWS, that still applies. All of those concepts apply, but keep your technical skills sharp and just stay on your toes and you'll be all right.
where do you think cybersecurity is heading? What's your opinion?
Um, I
The
think
new frontier.
eventually things are going to get a lot better. Right now, I think things are getting better in a large sense, but I still feel like there are pockets of individuals or companies that are still living maybe 10 years ago. And those are the folks that we see are running into trouble with some of these newer threats. But I think eventually there's going to come a time where that tide is going to raise all boats, and
Mm.
it's going to be even harder for folks to get exploited. It's going to be harder for folks to get uh, conned or anything like that. So I'm hoping that, with what me and Rod Ennings are trying to do, we're trying to inspire people to just be better, to put out that information. And so maybe other people say, you know what, I can do what they're doing. I'm going to put out my information, and high tide raises all boats. And so everybody's going to be constantly thinking about these problems, making it harder and harder and harder for attackers to do what they want to do.
Awesome. During COVID, what have you focused on, and what can you recommend people out there going through these unprecedented times, difficulties?
Yeah, I would say for me it was kind of like a two-step journey. My first journey in the very beginning was all inbound. Like I was taking in information, I was listening to more books, I was learning more things. I'm constantly like reevaluating my own skills. But then right around the middle of COVID, I said, okay, now it's time for me to start taking the skills and the things that I've acquired over a long career and start putting more things out there. Kind of like when we started with the podcast. But really, what I'm focused on is what else can I do, even above and beyond cybersecurity?
Mm.
How can I impact society? How can I impact the world? And it sounds grandiose. It sounds crazy. Like, is Chris Cochran going to change the world? Probably not. But at least if I try, I think things will get a little bit better, even if it's just local.
That's awesome, man. I mean, COVID has been hard, and it seems like now with this Delta variant,
Mm-hmm.
states are starting to pull back,
Yeah.
and things are starting to close again. So it is hard. It's like, when are we going to get out of this? And in a way, the whole thing of not going to conference and not being around like-minded individuals sometimes is taxing, right? I
Yeah.
miss I miss hanging out with you. I think I've seen you one time since the
Yeah.
pandemic started, and it's one of those things that I yearn for, a weekend to hang out and have a conversation. And I was just telling this on the phone to Ron the other day. My favorite thing about you and this is to me your superpower, is two words you say. Imagine if. And then there's a whole conversation that
Yeah.
that comes up, and I love that. Every time we're together, you like, imagine if, and then that begins a 2-3 hour conversation, and
Yeah.
it's back and forth, and it's one of those things that it's creativity, it's still being a kid, having that
Hmm.
imagination and growing, and that right there is like really what I miss
Yeah.
being around. Tell me, who was your first cybersecurity mentor? Give him his flowers on here. And what separates good mentors from bad mentors?
My first cybersecurity mentor was actually a woman named Leslie Bellucci. She
Mm.
was the CEO of the company that I was at when I first got out of the Marine Corps. It was called Point One, and then it turned into National Security Partners. But she taught me about like true leadership and presence. Like you want to talk about leadership presence, Leslie was the queen at that. And she's incredible. I know she's doing great things. I think she's doing things in cybersecurity education right now. Hopefully, you're doing well. I haven't spoke to you in several years, but yeah, I would say that was my first one.
And what would you say separates a good mentor from a bad one?
A good mentor is focused on the mentee. A bad mentor is focused on pontificating on themselves and the things that they know. A good mentor is so focused on the growth of the individual that they're able to go that extra mile, and they're focused on what are the problems that they're dealing with. So they take the ego out of it, and they do what they can to help that person.
Man, you've done so much during this pandemic. I've seen you on social media. How do you have so much time to do all these things? Do you
I don't have time. I never like I was late to this because I don't have time. I'm trying to find some efficiencies in my schedule. It's getting harder and harder. The more that we do, the more that we're putting out, the more events that we do. Time is of a premium. But one thing that I will give one tip for folks that are doing a lot of things. They're doing podcasts, they're doing research, they're building networks, different things. They're doing stuff at work, they're doing stuff at home. Maybe they're a parent. Whatever you're doing, try to be locked in at 100%. Be 100% focused. That's one thing that I've learned during the pandemic. I used to be kind of scatterbrained. I was all over the place. Even when I was with my kids, I was thinking about the podcast. I was thinking about media. I was thinking about work. But what I've learned is because my time is at such a premium, I have to make each moment that much more valuable across the board. So when I'm locked in at work, I got to be focused on work. I got to be completely heads down, working on what I'm doing. And when I'm working on podcast stuff, I got to be focused. When I'm with my kids, I'm locked in. I'm putting my phone down, putting everything away. I'm giving them the time that they need because tomorrow isn't promised. It never is. Like it could happen. This Delta variant is no joke. Even here, even with folks that are vaccinated. So being locked into them is going to be important because when I'm gone, they'll be able to take those moments with them. Same for my wife. So whenever you're going to do something, be locked in. Set a timer. I'm going to be locked in for this long. Everything else is going to have to go away,
let's
and then you pivot.
let's peel back that onion, because I love this. Is one of my favorite topics because I always walk away with some sort of nugget. For me, to get locked in, I need headphones, I need
Mm-hmm.
certain music, I need scent, I need the lighting to be right. And
Yeah.
also, I have this station, I have this station right here, I have another station where I try to put myself in different positions so I'm not just in the same routine. What do you do to lock in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple things. So, working out, it settles me. Like sometimes you wake up and you have that chatter in your head that immediately starts. That workout, boom, knocks that out. Now I'm like back to baseline. Take a shower, do breathing. You and I and the rest of the guys at the house, we used to do all types of different breathing styles.
Hmm.
Breathing helps you get centered. And then maybe some caffeine. I've been playing around with no caffeine, which has been working pretty well, honestly. Sometimes I get a little tired at the end of the day, but I'm just trying to find ways for me to get locked in and focus and then I can get into that flow state. But for everybody, it's a little bit different. Some people are night owls. Some people are like, all right, I'm going to do all my work at the end of the day. Some people want to do it in the beginning. So really, it's all about finding that rhythm, that environment, like you were talking about. You like the smell, the headphones, you got the music going. Those are different ways that kind of get you set up for that flow state. So experiment, play around with it, and you'll find your groove.
I want to give Ronald Eddings a shout out because he introduced me to breath work, and he introduced me to Wim Hof. The first time I did Wim Hof, I was in shock. I was like, whoa. I went, like, I had tears in my eyes because I was like, I never felt that before. Can you go into detail for people that aren't aware of breath work and the things that it does for you?
Yeah, so I'm definitely not a doctor
No.
or a scientist, but for me, what breath work is all about is we don't breathe very deeply as a species. Like, we're supposed to be able to breathe deep from the belly. And a lot of time we breathe very shallow. We're sitting here hunched down, our belly's like sitting here, like maybe in front of a desk. And so we never really breathe. And the only time we might breathe is maybe going to the gym. That's where we do our like breath work. But if you can have a practice that's like focused on breath work, I'm telling you, you're going to feel energized. You're going to feel clear headed. You're going to feel invigorated. And definitely check out some Wim Hof videos that he talks about cold exposure, talks about breathing. There's so many things about breath work and oxygen, getting oxygen to the body that's super, super important. All these little practices add up.
I am definitely going to invest in a cold tub in the near future. That's
Nice.
one of the things that I definitely want to invest in. There's if you follow Joe Rogan, it's on his podcast. But the reason why I bring all these things up, because at the end of the day, we're mental athletes. And people need to understand that we're in front of a computer for 8 hours and we're locked in. And maybe you're not locked in for the entire 8 hours, but the output that, we have is really, sometimes it blows my mind. And I think these little tips and tricks help out, where you have how to get focused. Okay, you want to calm yourself and do breath work, which to me, when I do breath work, my energy just is super high, right? And if you want to get into it, like with COVID, like when COVID basically coats your lungs and you start getting blood clots, right? And it's because there's not enough oxygen going through your blood. And this is what, it does. I'm not a doctor or anything, but I was hearing Wim Hof say this, and I'm just repeating what he said. But, all these little tricks of working out, breath walk, breathing, taking walks, taking breaks is really, when you come back to it, you're really getting locked in to provide value to your stakeholders or a project that you're working on. And I feel like that is big. Let me ask you, what do you see yourself for the next 4 or 5 months, of 2021? What are you focused on?
Oh, real quick, I wanted to touch on something that you were just talking about. It as practitioners, we're mental athletes, we're locked in, right? I had the privilege of interviewing Stephen Kotler. Stephen Kotler is the foremost researcher on flow state, and he wrote the book, The Art of the Impossible, Rise of Superman, Stealing Fire, great books. And when I was talking to him, I said, in cybersecurity, we're literally folks that love flow because it helps us do our jobs, but we're against people, adversaries that also want to be in flow. They want to be in flow just as bad as we do. So who wins in that? And how do we make sure we win in that dichotomy? What he told me was actually super interesting. They did a study that the difference between someone that's doing flow for good and someone that's doing flow for bad, the person that's doing flow for good has just a little bit more oomph to it. There was something to that empathy. There was something to that purpose, that mission that made it just a little bit more impactful. So I feel like as long as we're as practitioners, we're doing all the right things. We're getting into flow state. We're maximizing our potential, but we also have that mindset of helping out each other, protecting each other. That's going to make us that much more better. So, but for the next 4 or 5 months, just focused on doing more content, focused on putting things out there that people care about. We're doing more polling on LinkedIn, figuring out what people want. So definitely look out for that on my page. But yeah, we just want to hopefully soon all this COVID stuff will be over with. Really want to get in touch with everybody in person. That would be great. We're hoping to meet with everybody this week, but it just wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, if you haven't seen this, I had a friend send this over to me. This was the keynote on day 2 of Black Hat. It is completely empty.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That I've usually it's in an arena, and this is almost an empty room. It's smaller. Kudos, shout out to Black Hat, shout out to DEF CON for saying, hey, we're gonna try to, put this event together, and let's start getting back into, normal life, and it's hard because now there's a high rate, but what I'm hearing on over there in Vegas, that DEF CON potentially is going to be 60-70% packed. So we'll see. Hopefully they have a good turnout. Like I said, I wish I would have made it. I was scheduled to go out, and on Saturday I got sick. Sunday I took a COVID test. It was negative. I was happy about that, but I did have the flu, and because of the climate, you just can't take a risk anymore. And I didn't want to put anyone in a position where they have to go out and they have to test themselves or anything. I wouldn't.
Right.
I would feel horrible if I would have went over there and I thought I was good, but I wasn't, and I still had the flu, and it's difficult. But any last words, Chris? Thank you so much. I know you're super busy. I appreciate it. Do you have any last words for everyone out there watching?
I would just say one thing that I've really learned over this COVID is gratitude. And I thought I was a pretty grateful person, but every single day I'm learning how much more I can grow. So I would say focus on some gratitude, focus on the people that you love that's around you, reach out to people, even if you couldn't make it out to Black Hats, take some time and save some time just to connect with somebody that you haven't talked to in a minute, because we still need that interaction like Marco was talking about. So reach out to me anytime. I promise you, I'll try to get to all the messages that I can. Sometimes I get busy, but we're one community and we got to stick together.
I have a few more questions now, because you said gratitude, right?
Yep.
And I want to ask you, how do you practice that every day? Can you give me some details on that? Because there's a lot of people out there that I feel that what I usually do is wake up and just thank my heart it didn't stop overnight. And that's how I begin, like having that gratitude and just thanking, that my heart didn't stop. So what are some of the things that you do?
Yeah, I have one practice. I've talked about this on the podcast once or twice. It's my kids. Every time I hug or hold my kids, I get centered just for a second. And I feel grateful that they're here, that they're breathing, that I get to be a dad. I get to pass on whatever knowledge. I get to tell them whatever mistakes I made. I do that every single time. Like without fail, I do it every time. Another thing that I try to practice is I do try to go through 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day. I used to write it down. I've gotten kind of lazy with that, but I think I need to pick that back up because I'm getting back to writing again. So writing down 3 things you're grateful for every day. And I mean, sometimes it's going to be the same things over and over again, but sometimes it might be different. Just constantly practicing that gratitude muscle.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking your time out. I know you're super busy.
Thank you, brother.
And like I said, I have one more interview today. Noid, he's coming up next. And then potentially later after that, I've been speaking to Jeff Moss. He's going to try to come on. He's the founder of Black Hat, founder of DEF CON. So that should be cool. I love to have him on and get his perspective on what's going on in Vegas. But thank you so much. And everyone, until next time, I'll see you in 15 minutes.